On reflection, I was perhaps a little too harsh on the new Power Rangers movie. Don't get me wrong, it was shit, and I still think that the Rangers themselves looked like they were beaten out of Tony Stark's jizz towel, but the film at the very least was tangentically related to its source material. Alas, the same cannot be said for the Netflix exclusive Death Note movie. I haven't seen it at the time of writing this paragraph, but the trailer alone is cause for concern. Before I go any further, I should probably mention the fact that I love Tsugumi Ohba and Takeshi Obata's Death Note released back in 2006. Seriously, my dedication is unrelenting. I've got a cheap-ass owl necklace and an even cheaper-ass Death Note wallet. Well, it's more of a Death Knot wallet since the manufacturer clearly couldn't fit the whole title on. Fuck knows why, considering the Lord's Prayer has been written on a grain of rice, but I digress. So you can imagine when I saw the trailer to a westernized version of a beloved Japanese manga/TV series, my desire to meet it halfway shares the same amount of reluctance with James Cameron's eagerness to give sticking to budget and deadlines a chance. So we have traded modern-day Japan for modern-day Seattle, and ruthlessly unoriginal high school student Light Turner is doing some ruthlessly unoriginal high school shit when a book literally falls from the sky and into his life. Shortly after, Light is visited by Ryuk, a Shimigami who informs Light that the book in question is a Death Note and whoever possesses it is capable of killing people and determining their cause of death by simply writing their name in the Death Note. After a successful trial entry into the book, Light decides to use the Death Note to rid the world of criminals under the guise of a god called Kira. As well as attaining a cult following and some bitch who looks like she was dragged off a Twilight set, he also manages to grab the attention of law enforcement in the shape of L, a genius detective who's more unhinged than your average door in Florida and wants to bring Kira to justice before all of his colleagues will be made more redundant than public telephones and Chester Bennington's microphone collection. Of course, compared to the anime, the movie is complete garbage. I'll probably be touching on that throughout the review. On its own though, it's at best the movie equivalent of an alcohol-fueled one-night stand. It's alright at first, and about halfway through you regret you started it, and when it's over you find yourself bearing no emotional attachment or desire to remember what the fuck happened. On occasion, the film gives you a Final Destination vibe during the build-up to the death scenes, which I liked because it created a type of tension that Final Destination movies are renowned for, and when it came to the demise itself, Death Note surprisingly didn't disappoint. The first act is well paced. I liked how the Death Note was introduced almost immediately. Instead of dragging us through some troubled kid at high school bullshit we've seen 1,000 times in the past, see the new Power Rangers movie for an example, we got to the reason why we are watching this movie straight away. Despite my approval of the pacing, the editing is fucking atrocious and it focused on the wrong shit. Willem Dafoe's Ryuk is by far and away the best thing about this movie, yet I feel like he deserved fuckloads more screen time. I would have loved to have seen the relationship between him, Light, and the Death Note explored more, but irritatingly it fucked that idea off and concentrated on our pale and uninteresting protagonists having what I can imagine being pale and uninteresting sex. The casting overall, with the exception of Dafoe, is lackluster, but they're dwarfed by the terrible decision that was the choice of actor for L. Yes, of course it would have been difficult to imitate one of the most eccentric anime characters of all time, because obviously the Japanese are known to put exaggerated, over-the-top facial expressions and body movements into their material, meaning that the actor would have had to have stretched his retinas to the point of snapping and dislocate his jaw so his mouth is more gaping than your mum's throat when she is trying to gather enough money up front to pay for the bullet in your head to reenact perfectly so we can forgive. However, watching the original L deduce the Kira case was a thing of beauty. His methods, his patience, his dedication, elegance and childlike traits concocted with his overall genius made for compelling and curious viewing, and without doubt was pivotal for the actor to study ruthlessly before even attempting to get in the mindset of the character. Unfortunately, every attempt at doing so was about as successful as Harrison Ford's efforts at maintaining a marriage. Lakeith Stanfield didn't look comfortable at any point during the movie. The dialogue delivery and words themselves just didn't feel like they belonged to him, and since when the fuck did L lose his shit? This guy was so quick to anger that even Bruce Banner would have been impressed. So much of L's screen time was dedicated to him threatening minors and throwing office equipment around like an after-hours cleaner that recently handed in their notice instead of showing the genius detective doing genius detective shit. To put it into perspective, it would be like making a Spider-Man movie and replacing the web-slinging and all the other aspects that everyone loves about him with 90+ minutes of Peter Parker wanking into a freshly microwaved Avengers sock. Much like Jared Leto's attempt at portraying the Joker, the movie fails at trying to be taken seriously. There were several occasions where it was unintentionally hilarious when it was trying to be earnest. The animated series was brilliant at stabbing itself with a knife made out of humour, and it worked perfectly when light relief was called upon. But this vat of unfiltered cat spunk, much like recent remakes or adaptations, went for the grimdark approach, a gimmick that's novelty is starting to fade faster than the buzz you get from sniffing poppers. Also, I don't feel that Light was using the Death Note to its full potential. Firstly, he was a twat for telling someone about the note to begin with, especially this hormonal bag of issues. Also, you could use it to do so much more than just murdering people. Remember, the Death Note allows you to have complete control over someone's actions for 48 hours, a rule not very well exploited in this movie. With that kind of power combined with a decent imagination, you could, for example, manipulate government and world leaders to change their policies and legislations as well as the law overall. You could also influence the way the economy runs, and you could help with the stabilization of the environment. There are so many possibilities. Fuck, you could even get George R.R. Martin to finish his A Song for Ice and Fire series, but then again, I doubt any force human or paranormal could accomplish that. So yeah, in short, you don't need this in your life. If you've never seen anything to do with Death Note before, it would serve well as a background movie on mute accompanied with music at a party. If you're a fan of the franchise, I'd avoid the fuck out out of it. But if you want to simulate the experience, I'd suggest taking a spa day at the Dreadfort.